Welcome back to part 2 on quadratic functions and models. We're going to start with example 1. We have f of x equals 3x squared minus 18x plus 21. We need to put it in standard form, and then we need to find out what the vertex of the parabola is and whether it opens upwards or downwards. We'll explain those transformations once we've put it in standard form. The first step will be to group the terms ax squared and bx. That will be 3x squared minus 18x plus 21 off to the side. So that's grouping it. We've got that step down. We need to factor a, so the coefficient of x squared is 1. Factoring is the same as just dividing out the coefficients that are common. And so we have 3 times x squared minus 6x. So now our 3 is factored out front, and our coefficient on x squared is 1. Our next step will be to complete the square in the parentheses by adding a number inside. So we are going to add the number by using a specific formula. The formula we use is 1/2 b quantity squared. Our b inside parentheses is -6, so we take 1/2 of -6 and square it, which is -3 squared, and I get 9. So I'm going to add 9 inside parentheses. But I can't just magically add 9 without doing the opposite outside parentheses. So I've completed step 3, but it says multiply that number by a and subtract from the function. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 3 times 9, because that in effect is what's happening here. 3 times 9 is 27. And so if I added 27 to this expression, I also have to subtract 27 on the outside of the parentheses. So that completes step 4. Now I need to factor and simplify. What I actually completed in 3 is a perfect square trinomial, which means when it factors, both binomials inside will be exactly the same, and I can rewrite the whole thing as 3 times x minus 3 times x minus 3 minus 6 when I combine 21 and -27. When that happens, I get 3 times the quantity x minus 3 squared minus 6. And conveniently, I now know how my parabola has been transformed based on this new standard form. It is very convenient. So the first question is, what is the vertex of this parabola? Well, I know that the -3 is my negative of h. So this is -h. And I know that the -6 is my k, which means my coordinate for the vertex is at 3, -6. And if you think about the transformations, this x minus 3 means my parabola has been shifted to the right 3 units. And it's been shifted down 6 units because of the -6. So it makes sense that a standard parabola centered about the origin at 0, 0, once transformed, would go from being centered about 0, 0 to being centered about 3, -6. And of course that's a very sloppy sketch, but you get the idea that the vertex has shifted based on the transformations and the way we were able to convert this. So we've completed step 5 as well. We've talked about the vertex being at 3, -6. And we also need to ask ourselves, does this open upwards or downwards? Well, our leading coefficient is 3. Since 3 is greater than 0, we know that our parabola opens upwards, just as I sketched it here. If 3 had been negative, then we would have known that it opened downward.